Hello kindred longevity lifestyle designers, this is Zach here with secretsoflongevity.com. I'm going to be making 3 tinctures today, and I wanted to share the first step in that process with you. It's coming up on the holidays. I have some ideas of perhaps when these are ready in 1 month's time that I could use them as gifts to certain people perhaps. Hope you're not watching. And but what I'm going to be making it out of is actually rum, which is fermented sugar cane, or fermented sugar from the sugar cane juice, sugar, molasses, and other things mixed together. It's fermented, and it's different from what most people use. Most people use, or in a lot of cases, you hear people using vodka, grape alcohol, other things like that. I've never heard of people using rum, but you know, it can be done. It's a 40% alcohol by volume, and basically anything 30% or higher, or maybe 35 is on the safe side, or higher is going to be good for making tinctures, because if the alcohol content is too low, you're going to get some fermentation happening from too high a water content. So any bacteria in your tincture is going to start to eat away at the herb and proliferate and make the tincture go bad. So I'm going to make basically 2 sizes. I'm going to make 2 tinctures in large bottles, and I only have a few herbs left of one type that I want to do in this other tincture. So we're going to put in this medium-sized jar, and this here is nettle root that I was trying to get into the brown jar with a funnel, and the funnel wasn't working out too well. It's getting stuck. Here it is, it's still stuck. Oh, there it goes. And so that's like 2, maybe 3 tablespoons of nettle root. I guess there's some in here as well. And nettle root is probably my all-time favorite North American herb. It's got pretty amazing properties. It's a great herb, not necessary for everyone, but it's a good one to use if you're looking to boost free testosterone while eliminating the chances of that free testosterone by getting eaten up by these other pathways. Of course, it has many other properties about it, but I'm not going to get into those right now. I might do a future video just on that herb. The other thing we're going to mix with it is nettle leaf. This is a very high mineral plant, somewhat similar properties to the root, but not as androgenic by far. And we're going to combine equal parts of it, so just by eyeballing it. Very high in silicon, iron, calcium, all very alkalizing minerals. All these tinctures are going to be great. The reason I'm using rum partly is the fact that it, like I mentioned, it's made from sugar cane, but it's also good to go in eggnog. And I want to make herbal eggnogs for the holiday season for relatives and friends, so that's my purpose behind using rum for that. So after having put the herbs in the jar, we simply just cover it with alcohol, like so. We don't want to do too much over the level of the herbs, but not too far under. I'm going to get a fork to stir this, because that's probably a perfect amount. You can always add more in the process of it sitting there in your cupboard. So when you're letting these sit to sort of macerate in the alcohol, you want to prevent it from not being covered by the alcohol, because those bits of herbs that aren't covered will probably go bad. Quite similar to making any sort of fermented sauerkraut or kimchi, you want to keep those things that are fermenting under the surface of the liquid. So I'm just going to add a little more. These herbs float, but I believe they'll sink after maybe a day or 2. But if today's November 17th, all I have to do is wait till December 17th, and we've got it for a month, a little over 4 weeks, and I'll be ready for the holiday season. So without going into too much detail on all the other herbs, by the way, if you want to get any of these herbs and try making tinctures yourself or use them in teas, check out the links below. I've got links to all of them to Mountain Rose Herbs. If you want to look for your own herbs, I've also got a link to the main page on Mountain Rose Herbs, and you can start your own process of tincture making. And a very thorough way of understanding and learning this whole technique. And a big part of it is going to be at the other end of the tincture making in 1 month's time. Is going to be how to extract the alcohol and get your full bang for your buck, you could say, with the herbs, the alcohol, and really getting as much out of them as possible. And Brandon's put together a great audio program which I definitely endorse. It's called Tincture Control. You can find a link to it below. And if you see on the main page there, he's got an image of a tincture he's bought at a health food store and one that he's made, and they're both of the same type of herb. Yet you can see he's got the droppers of both tinctures held up in front of the camera, and you can see the one from the health food store is very thin, kind of clear, not very dark, and then he's got the one that he's made with his special techniques that's available in this audio and video program. And you can see it's thick, it's opaque, you can't see through it, it's like syrup, and it's almost like oily or viscous. And so this is going to be my first chance to make a tincture like that, having learned these amazing techniques. And you can learn it too if you want to check out the program below. And again, I'll show you the finished product come December, but I won't be revealing all Brendan's secrets, of course, so you're going to have to check out that program. So for the next one, we're going to do the South American one with Chanca Piedra, Pau d'Arco, and Cat's Claw. I'm going to probably fill it half up with these herbs. And again, I'm just eyeballing it. Because these are mostly tonic herbs we're working with, don't need to be too specific with getting it, to some sort of standard that you'd find with a herbal practitioner or at any other health food store where they actually have to list the concentration of it, whether it's 8 to 1 or 4 to 1. Next herb is going to be Pau d'Arco, or Pau d'Arco, however you want to pronounce it. And all the herbs in this South American herb have similar properties. They're all quite potent antibacterial, antifungals. Chanca Piedra is good for breaking up calcification in the body. It's a remedy commonly used for kidney stones, gallstones, and any other sort of hardening of the body. Pau d'Arco is much more antifungal. It's great for anyone suffering from any sort of candida issues. Cat's Claw is used as a cancer treatment. It's used to treat AIDS. It's a very powerful herb from the Amazon. I feel that people should have it available in their sort of herbal repertoire, either as a tincture, actually best as a tincture, because the great thing about tinctures is they're very portable. If you have them in your medicine cabinet and you have a serious situation, you can use them. It's una de gato, or cat's claw, is very good for treating diarrhea or any other sort of internal infection that's resulted in sort of an acute situation like upset stomach, and it's also a great immune booster. And because it's a adaptogen and not going to have any sort of side effects, it can be used for periods of time without harmful side effects. So that's a good amount. It looks like there's more cat's claw than anything else, but it's the most large cut, whereas the other two are closer to a powder, and that's going to be a good amount. You don't really want to go over half filling your jar because it is going to expand when in contact with the liquid. So here we go with the Bacardi Gold. We're going to pour it over top. I'd probably avoid the use of flavored alcohol, like raspberry vodka and that stuff, just because you don't know what the flavorings are. They could be synthetic, they can be full of sugar and other things you don't want to be putting into a medicinal tincture. Certain herbs have certain properties with them that are oil soluble, certain herbs have water soluble components. So a great thing with a tincture is that the alcohol is breaking open the cell wall of roots, leaves, basically any plant matter. You can actually make tinctures of animal parts if you're interested in experimenting with ants, your own deer antler if you're around a place where you can get fresh deer antler that have fallen off a deer. Deer tail is a common aphrodisiac, or gecko, or any of these other plant or animal products that can be tinctured. So like I was saying, the alcohol breaks open the cell wall of plant material, exposing, almost acting like a boil on a stove of tea wood. And so alcohol has 40%, or at least in this case it's 40% alcohol, 60% liquid or water. It's going to have other flavors in there, but it's definitely water. And so you're going to be able to extract both water-soluble nutrients as well as oil-soluble. And it's actually kept raw, so if that's something you're interested in, is the raw thing, then you're going to like tinctures for the effect that you're not, you're getting all those properties that are could be damaged by heat in a boiling, but you're also going to be getting the wide array of both water and oil-soluble constituents. So by oil-soluble, alcohol actually absorbs and holds onto oil-soluble nutrients. So if this was just water and we were letting it sit on, say, a windowsill in the sun, you're not going to be getting the oil-soluble nutrients. I mean, some herbs might not have any, but something like reishi has oil and water-soluble nutrients, and a reishi tincture is going to be different from a reishi extract that was just water-based or water extracted. So it's good if you're getting a reishi extract to get both alcohol and water extracts that are then mixed together. But if you make your own tincture, you're going to be getting that and consuming that yourself. And then afterwards you can actually boil the herbs as well to get even more out of them for on the stove and more decoction before you toss the grounds away. Last but not least, I'm going to do a blend of 3 herbs that doesn't have too much of a theme, although it's quite Shen building. Most Shen building things would be the holy basil and the ginkgo biloba. Both work on the brain and overall sense of well-being and the emotions. But I'm also going to be putting in some horsetail, which I guess has some Shen qualities to it. I was just doing some research on it, couldn't find, it's hard fitting this sort of Chinese paradigm and way of looking at things onto Western herbs, but it can be done. But horsetail is very good for, obviously, silicon. It's very high in silica, but you don't want to be overdoing it for long periods of time because it is one of the most potent diuretics. So when you make a horsetail tea, you might find you urinate a lot afterwards, which can be a good thing if you're wanting to lose excess weight or there's things that you need to move through you. But it's also effective at healing internal injuries as well as external, put on as a poultice. It's very efficient at healing ulcers. And then the negative effects of ginkgo biloba is that it can thin the blood too much. So excess use of ginkgo biloba can result in thin blood. Definitely don't want to be using ginkgo if you're on warfarin or any other medical blood thinners. But looking at their properties, these sort of have a balancing effect to each other in terms of reducing their negative effects, because one's going to help blood clot properly, and the other one's going to be making blood thinner. So that's just something I picked up on, and that's why I want to combine these in tincture. It's not going to make them both adaptogenic in quality, but you still want to cycle this and give breaks from it. But it's going to reduce sort of the negative side effects, so to speak. And I have to be careful with ginkgo. I've had a few bad experiences with it where I might have put too much in a tea, and it dilates and thins the blood, so you're going to have much better blood circulation. However, it can give you sort of a pressure headache because it's going to actually get blood going to the head. Also gets blood going to the extremities and to the genitals. It's often used as an aphrodisiac. But it's also good for supplying nutrients to the brain. And that's why it has that Shen building property, because it's working on the head, obviously. So to add an equal amount of holy basil, I'm just going to start pouring it in. Holy basil is a really incredible herb. It reduces cortisol. It's a potent antioxidant, very spiritual herb. Last but not least, we're going to add the horsetail. Hope I have much left. Yeah, there'll be enough. We're going to pour it in the bowl first to make it easier to pour into this jar. Might not need that much. There we go. And again, this is just cut in that very similar herb way. One thing I didn't mention about horsetail, I did mention that it helps clot the blood, but it does this through an astringent type property. So astringent herbs help retain and tighten up tissues, and part of that is because it's so diuretic. It drains excess moisture in the body, which can be beneficial, but not done to excess, obviously. And that helps counteract the properties of the ginkgo biloba. Give them a nice little alcohol bath. Rum tinctures, it's fun. Wow, I hope I have enough rum for that one. I think I'll make do. I might have to buy another small bottle of this, but I could have gotten the larger bottle, but I wanted the glass. The larger ones come in plastic. You want to avoid alcohol in plastic for sure. So that's going to do for now, I think. Yeah, for sure it is. But I'm going to have to grab another little Mickey and top it up. It's very simple. The first process, you're going to want to take a piece of tape them to the top, and write down the date that you started these, and write down each herb that's in there. Because you're doing several bottles, if you have bottles that you always have ongoing, if you start getting really into this, you're going to really need the names to keep track of everything. So with that, I'm going to say, check out the links below, check out Brandon's program. It's very thorough. It takes you from step 1 all the way to the end. He gives some great ideas for herbal recipes and combining them. He gives ideas of using them in drinks and other ways of using them. And also that special few techniques that he has throughout the actual process of putting them together, which is very unique. I hadn't even heard of them before. And you can make tinctures 8 times stronger than anything you can find in a health food store. So with that, I'm going to say take care and embrace life without limits.